All right, let's talk about Ikem Ekwonu, someone who, we talked about the big three tackles in last year's draft of Ikem Ekwonu, Charles Cross, and Evan Neal. Ekwonu ended up being the second one taken, but I think was clearly the best out of the three in his rookie year, which again, does not mean he will be the best when it's all said and done, but at least it's a good start and means he probably will be the best when it's all said and done. After all, the best indicator of future success is past success, so it's certainly good news for Ekwonu. But let's talk about why I liked his rookie season, maybe some things he has to improve upon, and where I think he goes from here. And we'll start off with this play, where again, not to compare him to the other two guys too much, because they're their own players, and at the end of the day, the Panthers don't care if he's better or worse than those guys. They just want him to be as good as possible. But, one of the things about Charles Cross, for example, is he was someone who was kind of more of the, the technician, the guy who maybe didn't have the athleticism as the other two, but was still relatively athletic and maybe was better with his hands and things like that. You had Evan Neal, who was very raw, but definitely has the most athleticism out of the three. And Ekwonu was kind of the Goldilocks Three Bears situation of kind of in the middle, where he was still very athletic, and you could argue had at least near the athleticism of Evan Neal and near the production and the hands of Charles Cross, which is why a lot of people, including myself, had him as their number one tackle. All that setup is to show off this play where he's going to do exactly that. Watch how right when this play begins, you see how he got a little bit of help, but now he's in a one-on-one matchup. He has the hand placement he wants, and you're going to just see the power of Ekwonu here. Watch him just be able to completely drive back that San Francisco player really far. I mean, almost 10 yards down the field. These are the types of plays Ekwonu is just capable of. And again, listen, you can't teach this stuff, right? I mean, you can a little bit. You can teach the hand placement, all that, but you can't teach strength. Again, I guess you kind of can a little bit. You can work out, but you know what I mean. At the end of the day, when you're adults, you're pretty much as strong as you are, and he is incredibly strong. But okay, what about something like this? What about his, footwork? What about his speed? Things like that. Okay, that's great that you're strong, but can you move laterally well enough? And it's going to be a one-on-one block. There's a tight end on this play, but he's actually going to be interestingly enough. So he's going to be chipping the edge rusher on this play, but you're going to have a defensive back who's going to come in and rush the quarterback. It's a defensive back blitz, and these can sometimes really fool especially young tackles, because you might not realize right away that it's happening, and then you might not have the speed to get over there. Look at how when this play begins, you certainly notice that he doesn't fully notice right away that it's happening. He picks it up relatively quickly, but again, it takes him a beat to realize it, which is not bad. That's what most tackles would do in that situation. I'm not saying that as a negative, just that's what happened, which means that he has to then make sure he has the footwork to get over and still be in position to block the San Francisco player who's blitzing. And that's going to be exactly what he does. He gets him away from Baker Mayfield. And I would actually say that that's a really good play by Ekwonu to read that. Because, again, you have to keep in mind that that was not the player Ekwonu thought he was going to be blocking before the ball was snapped. He thought that he was going to be blocking the edge rusher. It wasn't until he read the blitz that he realized he had to get over there. So he was a little bit out of position just because of the nature of the play, but then he had the footwork to get over there and make the play. I also thought something like this was good, where it's going to end up being a screen pass to DJ Moore. That's the way this play is designed to work. Watch how when it happens, I mean, really, I would say this is a very interesting play where, for one thing, you have two defensive backs who are out wide, but only one receiver who can block for them. In a perfect world, Ekwonu could get over and block the guy who's currently right in front of DJ Moore, but he just couldn't get far over there quick enough. I mean, that's just hard. That's not a negative on him. It just there wasn't enough time on that play to make it happen. I do like, though, that Ekwonu isn't going to just sit here and do nothing. Watch him still block Fred Warner completely out of the way on that play. Didn't end up mattering, but you know what? At the end of the day, block somebody. Don't just stand there and don't run over and try to block a guy who you're just not going to get to at that point. I think it's smart to still make sure you just make a play, because had DJ Moore been able to make a move and get more yards, then you would have had a lot more yards down the field, and no pun intended with saying more yards, but you would have had a lot more to get instead of just a little bit more. So I kind of like that play from Ekwonu. I did. But now let's go over here. So, okay, that's kind of what happens. That was an example of what do you do when things go wrong. But that's not the only example. And let's talk about in the pass rush game. I like to talk about what you do to avoid bad situations. I think that's definitely good and worth noting. But also, what do you do when a bad situation arises? What do you do to get out of it? And, well, let's start it off with this play, one-on-one block right here. And watch how the edge rusher that Ekwonu is going up against is doing a pretty good job. Has his left arm right there on kind of the right shoulder pad of Ekwonu, going for an inside move, which can be very dangerous sometimes. And for Ekwonu, it's a potential disaster, really. So watch how he is able to get Ekwonu moved over a little bit, right? Maybe didn't get him moved over as much as you were hoping for, but gets him over a little bit. And now is time for the counterattack by Ekwonu. He has to get his hands over and shove the defensive lineman further towards the left side of the screen. Keep him away from the quarterback, right? Yes, ideally you'd like to keep him still, but it doesn't always work out that way. The main goal is to protect your quarterback, and that's what he has to do. As you see, he is able to do that, and they're, actually, containment had been given up at that point if Baker Mayfield wanted it. He didn't. He threw the ball down the field instead, but still, that's what Ekwonu can do, is he can come back, and his strength allows him to come back. If you have great hands, which he showed great hands on that play, it allowed him to come back. And I would also just say in general, having the power that Ekwonu has is also a good way that he can make sure that he does not get beat too often, because he doesn't get too out of position too often, because it's hard to move him down the field. That's what the athleticism of him really has. But okay, let's talk about a negative. After all, he was a rookie, and I definitely thought looked like a rookie at times. He definitely looked raw at times, although I thought he got better as the season went along. But what were some of the issues? Well, this play, it's again going to be a one-on-one block. And watch how when it begins, you see that right here. So, Ekwonu seems to grab onto both of the arms of the edge rusher, which is good. Right? Got both of his arms. What can he do? Well, the issue is you also have to be in position to block him. You can't just have his hands out of the way, because great, he can't get the hand placement he wants, but neither can you really at this point. So when the edge rusher runs by him, Ekwonu kind of just keeps holding on and basically just tackled, his assigned man, which is obviously a penalty. That was a hold, and he got called for it. So, that's a play that you would like to see him clean up a little bit and, get the hand placement you want a little bit more. There were examples of him getting his hands not exactly where he wanted, which wouldn't necessarily always lead to flags, but just lead to guys being able to, make stuff happen, which is something that, you would like to see him clean up a little bit. But it's also one of those like, well, yeah, of course you would like to see him clean up on some of the stuff that he has, that are negatives in his game. Of course that's the case. We all knew that was going to be the case when we started watching him, is because, he's a rookie. He's a rookie tackle. It's very rare for a rookie to come in and have no errors in their game. He had some errors in his game. Definitely looked raw at times. But as a whole, I thought had a pretty solid rookie season. And I wouldn't be shocked at all if he can, really take the next step in year 2. Again, who knows for sure what's going to happen with any player, with any prospect. It's always a guessing game. But my educated guess would be that he would have a pretty good year 2 and a pretty good career. That's what I think is going to happen. But yeah, those are my thoughts with Ekwonu. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. What are your thoughts on the young Panthers tackle? Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.